There's always so much talk leading up to E3 about what we do want, about our hopes, our dreams, our safe predictions, our wild predictions. But what about, Gabe, things we don't want to happen at the Direct? Nintendo is known for having really great presentations and some really mediocre presentations. So what needs to not happen in 2019 to ensure that this goes down as one of those legendary Directs and not one of those lame Directs?
I have to be honest, sometimes the lame ones are kind of special in their own right.
Memorable indeed.
Yeah, but I feel like those days are gone just because now it's directs and not actual like press conferences. The press conference had those real magic moments where like they had the Wii music like debacle. There was a bunch of stuff that...
Don't ever disparage Robbie Drums. Don't ever do that to me.
I'm sorry.
None of that. Let us know in the comments down below what you don't want to happen at this year's E3 for Nintendo. And we're going to kick it off with one that I think everyone will kind of agree with. And that is no giant segment on anything. Frankly, even if it was our favorite thing, even if it was Super Mario Strikers 3, we don't want 25 minutes on nothing. So no giant Animal Crossing segment, no massive Luigi's Mansion 3 discussion, nothing that is going to take away from the opportunity to see a good bit of everything else.
I feel like that just slows everything down and it bogs the presentation down so much. In the past, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Fire Emblem, they've had these dedicated segments and they get a little too much into the weeds for what I want from E3. For E3, I want hard-hitting announcement after hard-hitting announcement, some new stuff, and yeah, they're gonna talk about games that we already know about. That's like perfectly fine, but give us details on the new Luigi's Mansion without having to talk about it for 10 or 15 minutes. Give us details on Animal Crossing without getting too into the weeds about it all. Yeah, this for me is probably the biggest one. I want cool announcements. I just don't want to be slowed down and having so much of that time taken to any one game.
Yeah, and we're coming off the heels of a presentation that did emphasize Smash Bros. Ultimate heavily. That may be like the only time, because of the roster and because of how special that game is, where it worked pretty well. But even last year, people were kind of like, save this for a dedicated Direct. They do that so often, and they had many more dedicated Smash Bros. Directs. Like, E3 should be a celebration of all the games, and so hopefully they keep it that way. We also don't want to see any super far off games, like no more title screen segments where it's just Metroid Prime 4, and then you don't hear about the game for years. Yes, that's kind of an easy way to get people excited. It is a good way to kind of just like send off a rocket and alert the masses that, hey, we got this new entry in this big franchise coming. But at the end of the day, I feel like it's disappointing for fans, and I feel like it leaves such a feeling of longing because, as with Metroid Prime 4, we know nothing since then. And yes, that game is special because it went through development trouble and has changed hands since. But regardless, no just title screen teases.
Yeah, they did it for Metroid, they did it for Bayonetta, they did it to an extent with Animal Crossing. Like, we don't even know the name of that game. Luigi's Mansion also was a super small tease, even though we did see a little bit.
At least a little gameplay.
A little bit. But you're right, I don't want to see just a title screen. That for me, other publishers do it. Bethesda, they announced the Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield. Things that are just so far. It's exciting to know that there's another Metroid coming, but we knew that at some point it was going to happen, so nothing really changed other than we've seen a logo now. So yeah, let's try to keep things closer to, within the time frame of them being released. I like that about Nintendo. They are doing that more and more, where they'll talk about things when they're ready, and then that's basically it. So I feel like they're moving away from that.
Yeah, I hope so. Also, no delays. Now, we have known the 2019 lineup for so long. I feel like a delay of any of the major titles would be really upsetting, right? Because delays are always frustrating, but this year in particular, because we've been hammering home Pokemon Sword and Shield, Luigi's Mansion 3, Fire Emblem 3 Houses, Animal Crossing. Like, if any of those were to miss and slip to 2020, it would not just be a bummer for that moment. It would be a bummer for the last basically year of us planning for what games are coming out, because it's been so established.
It really has been, and I don't know that we see any of the major ones get pushed back. Fire Emblem it already got pushed back, and I feel like everything else already is gonna hit. Animal Crossing.
Well, they don't have set dates, so we don't. I mean, maybe it's delayed, but as long as it stays within the calendar, I'm happy.
I feel like Animal Crossing is like the only one that could potentially, just because we know nothing at all. And
it's weird because that one we're saying like could be the most likely candidate to get delayed, and yet it's also the most likely candidate to have a massive segment. So
yeah,
it's interesting.
I don't want any more delays. Delays are no, they're huge bummers. Who wants delays? I know I don't.
Nobody. Also, at least on our end, we do not want any more Wii U ports. They have stayed away from them for a while now, and we do hear rumors and discussion, and honestly, it would probably be fun to get like 3D World or Pikmin 3 over on the platform. But at the same time, wouldn't it be way better to get a new Pikmin? Wouldn't it be way better to just save for an Odyssey 2 or a Galaxy 3? Let's just, hey, we've had the break. We don't need to bring it back. It's like, once the X is gone, let them go. Don't tease yourself by bringing it back and causing trouble and bringing those emotions. Wii U, we're done with you.
To me, there's only one acceptable port, and it's not even originally a Wii U game. So, Metro Prime Trilogy is the only acceptable one. Other than that, no, I don't want a Pikmin 3 game. If Pikmin does arise, make it a brand new game. If there's going to be like some anything, honestly, Wonderful 101, rather have a sequel. So yeah, I'm kind of hoping that they're done with the Wii U ports. I fear that they're not, just because they sell so well.
But they have been done, so to me it would be weird to bring it back.
January was the last one.
No time spent on super old titles. Now, obviously the Switch will continue to get ports from yesteryear. But for E3, which is a celebration of new, I really hope that they emphasize, especially in the third-party department, things like Doom Eternal, as opposed to games that may be coming from a while back. Now, there is an exception to this based on one of the current big Nintendo Switch rumors and leaks. I know if The Witcher 3 is to happen, it is going to get mentioned here. And I know people will go crazy because that's such an important game. And yet, I still hope that they keep that segment so incredibly short, because we don't need to know about The Witcher 3.
Yeah, we know all about the game. It's been out for a very long time. The Game of the Year edition, which is the rumored version coming to Nintendo Switch, has been out. Tell us it's coming, sure, but make it so quick, especially if there's more than one of these things. If there's more than one of these bigger, older games, put it like a little sizzle reel or something. I don't know, quick, rapid fire mention of things like this. I don't want to know about The Witcher. We know all about it.
Yeah, emphasize the new third-party games that are going to hit day and date. Honestly, even though it's an immediate release, I'd rather spend time on Crash Team Racing than something that came out, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago. Just because, on one hand, it may be a smaller experience or not as monumental, but at the same time, those are the games that are going to help define how things go for third parties the rest of the Switch lifecycle, right? If those do well, like Mortal Kombat 11 and like Crash Team Racing and Doom Eternal, that's a much better benefit than even something like The Witcher 3 doing well.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I have to agree with you there. So, but I'm also conflicted by this, just because there's so many franchises that are still bright for things like this.
But just maybe not during the Direct. There's limited time.
Yeah.
Hey, BioShock is my favorite franchise ever. I'll even say I don't want to see BioShock at the Direct.
No.
It's fine if it gets announced, but we don't need that. We don't need to see what BioShock the Collection looks like on Switch. It's okay.
They do need to hammer home their third-party support, though. So if there isn't remakes or old ports, some new third-party games would fill that void very, very well.
Yeah. We also do not want any 3DS. Now, there probably won't be, but this is, again, like the Wii U ports. Okay, it's done. There's some researchers of 3DS and be very concerned and very confused as to oh gosh, there's a new Paper Mario coming to 3DS, and oh gosh, there's a new Yokai Watch 160. Just let it lie. We're okay. We're all good.
I think it's over for 3DS. Yeah. It's still a phenomenal platform, and I understand a lot of people still love it. I just think its heyday is clearly gone. I don't know how much of that can be debated, and without trying to hurt any 3DS fans' feelings, and we're 3DS fans as well. So
yeah, it's had its time to be Hey King. Its heyday is over. It's time to pick a new Hey King. Man, Nintendo needs to make sure that they don't drop the jewels on online. So no more digging a deeper online hole. We've seen Mario Maker 2 go from to and we don't want that to happen anymore. So if they are to talk about anything to do with the online, if it's SNES, if it's another free game, if it's some new system they have to help encourage membership, they gotta hit it. They got to hit and knock it out of the park. We cannot have them slipping even further after some of the mistakes and missteps that they've had. The NES game rollout has been so slow. I really hope if they do choose to unleash SNES, they go big from the beginning and really start to remedy this known thing at this time, which is that Nintendo botches their online and botches everything associated with NSO. Do us a solid and hit it hard.
I wonder if they even mention anything online.
But it's so important to them.
Sure, but other than the SNES thing, what could they possibly do? Tetris 99,
Tetris?
Yeah. That was a fine, good example, and that did really well for them. So
themes.
Yeah.
It's the year of
Zach,
themes.
if they show themes during an E3 Direct.
Come on, man. That's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but I think I've always been of the mind of it costs so little, guys. Like, why are we complaining? That's where I've always fallen. But since this Mario Maker debacle, I'm like, man, they're really not like doing a whole lot to push this Nintendo Switch Online thing, and it does suck that it was free before and now it's not free, and it's the exact same service except for the Nintendo games and Tetris, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that they absolutely will add something in there. The investor calls were very keyed in on pushing these memberships, pushing year memberships. So I think we'll get some of that. I also think, here's my new brilliant idea, Gabe, for a digital download, like, you know how digital Nintendo does a little bit better on the profit side of things, include a theme. That's what they should do. So if you buy a retail game on an eShop, you get a theme. So if you buy Fire Emblem Three Houses digitally, you get a theme. Keep that in mind, Doug Bowser. Speaking of Doug Bowser, he is not something we don't want. We want him.
Yeah,
we definitely want
Yeah.
him. But the last thing that we don't want is that we do not want Nintendo to forget one more thing. They've said that 2019 is the emphasis. We know the games. There is a chance that they go to this conference focus exclusively on what we know. I'm sure there'll be a teaser too, but it's really important, I think, to everyone that there is that one more thing. Whatever it might be, please send us off with something hopeful and exciting for the future.
They've been killing it with that, like, honestly. Like, the past few, like, big directs, they always end on such a strong note. And while we said we don't want anything, like, super, like, far off into the future, we need one big game that we don't know about. I don't want to go the rest of this year knowing absolutely every game that Nintendo's going to put out. I'm hopeful that there's one certain game that you get to kick a ball around a little bit. That's what I want. That's my big one more thing of hope. We'll see how that ends up being.
Pikmin?
Yeah. If it's a brand new one, not if it's a port.
Yeah. I mean, even if it's teasing Pikmin 4 for early 2020 or teasing, Mario Kart 9, something like that would be good.
You're crazy.
But just give us one more thing that's super important and give us a really good show. We can't say everything that we know, but in time you will find out that it seems like it's going to be a good one. So I am pretty pumped for this year. E3 is weird. Sony is gone. EA isn't even doing a press conference. Microsoft is across the street. Nintendo really is becoming, in some ways, the face of E3. Like, of E3 proper.
Yeah. A lot of the big companies are kind of doing their own thing, and you mentioned Sony not even being there at all.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, I hope Nintendo doesn't ever abandon E3.
Yeah.
I
Please
think
no.
the day that Nintendo abandons E3, I think it's a little RAP.
Sunk.
Yeah.
Well, sink your fingers into those keyboards and let us know what you don't want to happen at Nintendo's Direct E3 2019. We'd love to hear from you. Make sure that like button if you enjoyed the video. Pump for E3. It's so freaking close, Gabe. We're going on a week and a half. It's very close.
Yeah.
Single digits is coming soon, and we will be there with all the coverage. Until the time, everybody, thanks so much for watching. For myself and Gabe, have a fantastic day. Switch Force